What is up, guys? Beancrew49 here. We're back on the Desolation map. And we're back on that grind. It's interior time again. I've been doing so many interiors, it's driving me crazy, but we gotta get them done. As I give you a quick glimpse of the city, we're back at the Nordstrom's, so it's time to do some interior mall work. I've been just going at it, guys, non-stop, going hard in the paints. Alright, so I'm gonna go do some work for you today. I'm not gonna finish it by any stretch of the imagination. No, we're not gonna finish, okay? But we're gonna do as much as we can. This is a grind. Now, I don't want to spend too much time talking about what I'm going to build. Okay, this is interior work I'm going to do in men's department. Because today's Monday, and Monday means creative question of the week. Now, today's a special occasion, because I'm not going to be answering one of your questions. Even though you guys brought some stellar questions. Kellen Brown, I want to answer your question really badly. So I might do that in the future, okay? But this week, I want to talk about something that I want to talk about, okay? So I'm going to ask myself a question. Bean, what do you think about the Paris attacks? Oh. Alright, we're going to get into it, guys. I want to tell you guys what I think about what happened over there, what caused it, where we're going to move towards in the future. So let's talk about the Paris attacks right now, because everyone's talking about it. First of all, my, most heartfelt condolences go out to the people involved in the attacks. Not just the people who died, but the people who were affected by it. It's such a tragedy, and no good can come of it, okay? Having said that, man, where do we start on this? My whole thing, guys, with you guys, I've been trying to get you guys to ask questions. You guys know that, right? Ask questions. Now, when a tragedy like this happens, the tendency for human beings is to, withdraw. You feel very, in a state of mourning. You're in a state of mourning. You feel kind of sad, depressed, and you kind of have an emotional response to it. And that's natural, okay? Everyone has that. But we have to remember that now is the time when we really have to be asking questions. This is the most important time to ask questions. So I'm going to ask you guys a few questions, and we'll see where we go with these questions. You know what I mean? Now, my first reaction to hearing the attacks was, here we go again. I can tell the French step by step exactly what is about to happen, because I lived it. We all lived it. If you're an American. Even if you're British, you lived it. Everyone felt it. But especially here in America, post 9/11 was a weird time. And the French are about to go through it themselves as well. They're about to go through the post 9/11 experience. Okay? So I can tell you exactly what's going to happen in France, step by step. It's not a secret. Here, first of all, there's going to be an emotional response. And the president is going to say, we need to go get him. And that is exactly what's happened. The president of France said, this was an act of war. Alright? Now, generally, war occurs between two countries, not a small group of people, okay? Which is what committed this act. If you believe ISIS, that's a whole different story. We'll go into that in a moment. But an act of war, really? So I guess this is war on Syria then, huh? Even though the Syrians had absolutely nothing to do with anything? Yeah, so let's think about that. That's a question to be asking. What does Syria have to do with this? Alright, so Syria is about to feel the wrath of the French, okay? And they are completely innocent. In fact, most Syrians are refugees at this point. Which is a whole other issue I will also discuss later in this video, okay? So the first thing is the French are going to have an emotional response, and they're going to say, let's go get these guys. The second thing is going to happen is the media is going to do everything they can to pluck at your heartstrings, to get you to... First thing I noticed was moments after this attack, there's already videos on CNN with dramatic background music, trying to draw out some emotion from you, okay? It's all very orchestrated, it's all very planned, it's all designed to make you buy fear, basically. That's what the media is. The media sells fear for profit, okay? Their whole goal is to get you afraid, because that's the attention-grabbing headlines. That's how they make money. Okay, so immediately the media is trying to get you to be afraid. But they're also it's not just the media, but it's everybody. There's also this sudden us versus them mentality, right? We, us, the proud, noble French, right, are now going against these dirty, unreasonable extremists. That's not what it is. That's not what it is at all, guys. They're trying to make you feel this us versus them mentality so that you're more willing to demonize these people in your mind. You're more willing to go to war and kill these people, right? They want you to demonize, to vilify, to hate these people. And they'll do everything they can to get you to hate them. Because, believe it or not, guys, France wants to go to war. They might say they don't want to go to war because the population doesn't want to go to war. But the government, the people in charge of the French government, they absolutely want to go to war because war nets huge profits. Huge profits for the military-industrial complex, which is comprised of corporations and people in government and factions of government. These people make an extreme amount of money during wartime. So there's no reason to go to Syria for the French. You know, there's absolutely no reason at the moment. But all of a sudden, we have an enemy. The French have an enemy, right? All of a sudden. Now, I'm not saying that the government perpetrated this act of terror against its own people. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying it's a definite possibility. I'm going to say that again. I'm not saying that the French government committed this atrocity against its people, but it's a definite possibility, one that cannot be ignored. Because if you want to go to war and your population doesn't want war, you have to convince them. And what better way to convince them than to pluck at their emotional heartstrings and fill them with fear and hatred? That's what happened post 9/11. Did you guys notice? I mean, a lot of you were young, but I was in college when 9/11 happened, and I saw it on the TV screen. Guys, I'm very aware of these things, and immediately there was this campaign almost to get us to hate Middle Easterners. Not hate the Taliban, which is, or, you know, just supposedly, air quotes, the people who committed 9/11. No, we weren't supposed to hate the 11 people, or 18 people, I don't even know how many they told us that did it. We're not supposed to hate the people who did it. We're supposed to hate the region they come from. They convinced us to hate people from the region they come from, so that we could go to Iraq and we could get Saddam Hussein out of power. We could get ourselves a person in power who we could manipulate, and suddenly we got a foothold in the Middle East. That's what happened, guys. I'm not saying that 9/11 was perpetrated by our government against its own people, but it's a definite possibility, one that we have to consider. Because the U.S. wanted to go to war, the U.S. population did not want to go to war. All of a sudden, overnight, we were screaming for war. Funny how that works, huh? Isn't that odd? The people get what they want. The people in power get what they want. The people who have no power, us, the citizens, we get sent overseas to kill and murder. And if you're lucky enough to come back, you are messed up from PTSD. I read a stat, something like 18 U.S. soldiers commit suicide each day. Some crazy number. Who's winning these wars? Halliburton. Halliburton won the war. Okay? So, the same thing's happening in France, guys. They're using the media to demonize these people, to create fear. All these attention-grabbing headlines. Even the president of France is joining this bandwagon. It's an act of war. This is not an act of war. This is a random act of violence. It's not an act of war. You're just trying to go to war, to fill your pockets. So if the French government didn't commit this atrocity against its own people, then they're using it. Guys, the government is using this event for their own political agendas. They're using the death of innocent people. The blood is still wet on the ground. The blood hasn't dried yet. And the president is already driving his people towards war. I know there's not a lot of French viewers for my channel, but we can all learn a lot from this. We learned that we should have learned a lot from 9/11. How can we not see history repeating itself over and over again? Now, I mean, this wasn't as large scale of an attack as 9/11 was. This is a smaller scale. But it seems like whoever's doing this, either ISIS, who's taking responsibility. By the way, let's go into that. Of course ISIS took responsibility. They'd love to take responsibility whether they did this or not. So just because CNN says, ISIS did this, we found a Syrian passport. Guys, come on. Do you think that anyone who is about to do a suicide attack mission on foreign soil would bring their passports to the massacre? Are you joking right now? We found a Syrian passport? Bullshit. Bullshit, you found a Syrian passport. Give me a break. Alright? This is just propaganda, guys. That's why I say ask questions. You are not going to see through propaganda unless you ask questions continually. Why would an attacker have his passport with him? Okay? Maybe he did, but what are the chances? Okay? So, yeah, of course ISIS is going to take responsibility, but we don't know who really did this. Come on. They would love to fill this narrative. You know, the media would love to fill this narrative that it's an extremist Islamic group that wants us to hate them. That's the narrative. They want us to hate them. Not just ISIS, but the media, the government, the people telling us our information. Guys, I talked about this in a previous video, but where does all of your information come from? Well, all of your information comes from the media. Almost all of it. Concerning world affairs, okay? And none of us really, it's really hard to follow, smaller journalists, private media basically, independent journalists. So we go to these aggregates like CNN or, Yahoo or whatever the heck we go to for our news. We go to these big corporations for news, and they are feeding us whatever they want. And we have almost no way to verify what they're saying. Almost no way to verify. But when we go to read the news, 99% of us just take it. Just take it. That's news. That's what it is. What if 99% of the stuff that you're being told is lies? How would you even know? How would you even know? So when an event like this happens, let's look at motivations. France wants to go to war. The US wants to go to war, but public opinion for war is low right now. So these events are going to be happening over and over in the future, guys. Over and over. They're going to keep happening. Trust me on this. Until we go to war. Until World War III happens. So ask questions. The people in charge are trying to drive us towards World War III. We can't let that happen. We have to hold our governments accountable. We have to let them know that we know what's going on, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. Okay? Ask questions. That's how we do it, guys. The government does not want you to ask questions. They don't teach you how to ask critical questions in school. You're not supposed to question the government, but I'm telling you, question the government because their motives are shady. It's all about money, control, and power over you. That's what it is. And they're exerting that day in and day out. Do not accept it. Do not allow it. They're using innocent people's bloods to further their political agendas. Stop. It's gotta stop. Alright, guys. That was an important thing for me to get off my chest. I hope you guys took that to heart. If you disagree, let me know in the comments because it's very important to talk about this. Very important. I feel for the victims, I really do, and it's a tragedy. It's sad, and it's really sad that our government either allowed this to happen or is using it to further their own wants, basically. So it's sad on every front. Alright guys, that's it for me. Happy Minecrafting. I hope you enjoyed this video. Leave a question for next week's creative question. Peace.